They say, when a child brings home riches without sweat, the gods begin to cry. But no one told Mama Chuka that the gods would use her own son to punish her. The native doctor spoke in a cold voice to Chuka. To unlock the throne of wealth, you must spill the blood of love. It's either you sacrifice the womb that gave birth to you, or the one who shared it. Chuka barely whispered, his voice full of pain and regret, "I'm sorry, Mama." This is the story of Chuka, the boy who loved money more than his mother. Once upon a time, not so long ago, in the busy city of Enugu, lived a young man named Chuka. He was a bright boy, just 21 years old, with eyes that held dreams as big as the sky. But Chuka's dreams were often shadowed by the hardship he saw every day. He lived with his widowed mother, Mama Chuka, and his 14-year-old sister, Adamma. Their home was small, with walls that knew hunger and clothes that knew many patches. Mama Chuka was a strong woman, with hands rough from years of struggle. Every morning, before the sun could properly wake, she would start her fire, mix her bean paste, and fry her akara, bean cakes, by the roadside. The smell of hot akara was often the only warmth their small home knew. Mama Chuka worked hard, very hard, but the money she made was barely enough. Sometimes, there was no money for salt, let alone school fees. Yet, Mama Chuka never lost her spirit. She had a saying for everything, a proverb that was like a guiding light in their dark days. She would often hold Chuka's face in her worn hands and say, "My son, remember this. It is better to sleep hungry in honesty than eat full in evil. A good name, Chuka, is worth more than all the gold in Lagos." Chuka believed his mother. He truly did. He saw her struggles, her tired eyes, her endless work. He knew she gave everything for him and Adamma. He was a brilliant student, always at the top of his class. When the letter came, saying he had been offered admission to the great University of Nigeria, Nsukka, UNN, a joy filled their small home like sunshine. But then, the shadow came. The admission was there, but the money for school fees, for books, for hostel, was not. Mama Chuka cried silently that night, her shoulders shaking. Chuka saw her, and his heart twisted. He tried to sell pure water, he tried to carry loads at the market, anything to gather the money. But it was never enough. The deadline for admission came and went, and Chuka, with all his brilliance, stayed home. One rainy night, the kind of night when the rain beats hard on zinc roofs and makes the world feel cold and small, Chuka lay awake. He heard his mother cough softly from her mat on the floor. He watched her sleeping, her body thin, her breathing shallow. He knew she had given him the last of the gari that evening, saying she was not hungry. He knew she had gone to sleep on an empty stomach, just so he and Adamma could have a little something. As the rain drummed its sad song, tears rolled down Chuka's face. Hot, silent tears of helplessness and frustration. He vowed that night, staring at his sleeping, sacrificing mother, that he would do anything to lift her out of this suffering. Anything. It was not long after Chuka missed his university admission that his friends started coming back home. These were not the friends he remembered from his school days, the ones who shared old textbooks and dreams of a better future. These were new friends, or rather, old friends who had gone to Lagos and returned changed. They drove flashy cars, their clothes were always new and expensive, and their pockets seemed to overflow with crisp naira notes. Their names were David and Tony, and they carried themselves with a loudness that announced their arrival before they even spoke. They would laugh loud, spend money without looking, and always had a new phone. One afternoon, they found Chuka sitting by the roadside, staring at nothing, his face clouded with worry. They stopped their shining car right beside him, music blaring. David's voice boomed, loud and boastful, "Chuka, my brother, is this how a brilliant mind wastes away? Come, join us in the land of opportunities." Tony then added, smooth and convincing, "Yes, Chuka. We hear you couldn't enter university. It's a pity. But God has other ways, my brother. Better ways." They took Chuka to a fancy restaurant, a place he had only walked past, never entered. They ordered food he could only dream of. As he ate, they started to talk about their business. They called it dealing with Oyinbo people online. They talked about clients and projects, and how easy it was to make money, fast money, more money than Mama Chuka could make in 5 years of frying akara. Chuka listened, his heart heavy. He knew what dealing with Oyinbo people online often meant. He knew the whispers of Yahoo Boys, internet fraudsters, who brought shame to families, even if they brought riches. Chuka hesitated, his voice low. But, this kind of money, is it clean? My mother always says, honesty is the best policy. David laughed loudly, dismissively. Mamas talk. Chuka, wake up. This is the new world. Who has honesty paid school fees for? Who has honesty stopped hunger for? Your mother works like a donkey, and what does she have? Nothing. Then Tony leaned in, his voice serious. Think, Chuka. You see your mother suffering. You want to help her, yes? Sometimes, to save the good, you must touch a little bad. Just a little. To get the money. Then you stop. You go straight. Nobody will know. Chuka argued with them. He really did. He told them it was evil, that it was not right. He remembered Mama Chuka's words, better to sleep hungry in honesty. But then, he remembered that rainy night, watching his mother cough, her body weak from hunger. He remembered the pain in her eyes when he told her he couldn't go to university. He went home that night with a troubled mind. The next evening, as he sat quietly, he heard it again. Mama Chuka's cough. This time, it was worse. A deep, wet cough that shook her whole body. She rushed outside, and Chuka followed. In the dim light of the moon, he saw her spit. And on the ground, a small, dark stain. Blood. His mother was coughing blood. His heart froze. Fear, cold and sharp, pierced through him. This was not just hunger anymore. This was sickness. Sickness that needed money, money they did not have. He looked at his mother, so frail, so tired, and the words of Tony echoed in his mind. Sometimes, to save the good, you must touch a little bad. That night, Chuka could not sleep. He paced the small room, his mind racing. He thought of his mother, her sacrifice, her failing health. He thought of Adamma, who still had dreams of school. He thought of his own wasted potential. He made a decision born of desperation, not greed. Chuka whispered to himself, his voice breaking, just a little help. To save her. I'll stop after one deal. I swear it, I'll stop. The next morning, he found David and Tony. His eyes were shadowed, but his resolve was firm. They smiled, a knowing smile. They took him to a small, dark room, not far from their own area. There, an old man, with eyes that saw too much, sat with strange powders and leaves around him. They called it a small cleansing, a ritual to open the way. Chuka was told to write some words on a piece of paper, words he didn't understand, using a small sharp object to draw a little bit of blood from his finger. He watched the red drop fall onto the paper, mixing with the ink, and a cold shiver ran down his spine. This was the touch of bad Tony spoke of. It felt wrong, deeply wrong, but he pushed the feeling away. He imagined Mama Chuka's smile, her health restored. A few days later, a strange alert came to his phone. 750,000 naira. It was more money than he had ever seen, more than his mother had ever held. His hands trembled as he stared at the screen. The ritual had worked. The little help had arrived. The 750,000 naira came like a flood in a dry season. Chuka rushed home, his heart pounding. He told Mama Chuka that he had found a new job, working online for a foreign company. He said the company paid well, that he was a genius with computers. Mama Chuka looked at him, her eyes narrow with a small suspicion. She knew Chuka was brilliant, but this sudden wealth, this online company, felt too easy, too quick. Mama Chuka's voice was cautious, yet hopeful. Are you sure this work is clean, my son? Is it from honest labor? The spirits of our ancestors frown upon stolen wealth. Chuka forced a smile, his voice a little too bright. Mama, don't worry. It's all clean. Very clean. I just found a good opportunity. See, I can finally take care of you. He bought Mama Chuka proper medicine for her cough. He bought them new clothes, paid for Adamma's school fees, and bought a small generator for their home. For the first time in years, their house had light at night. Mama Chuka, seeing the relief, the comfort, began to believe him. Her suspicion softened into gratefulness. She still watched him, still asked questions, but Chuka was always ready with a new lie, a new story of his foreign clients. But the single deal he promised himself turned into 2, then 3, then many. The money flooded in. Chuka bought a new car, a fancy phone, and moved his family to a slightly bigger, better house in a nicer part of Enugu. He was becoming known in their community as Chuka the laptop boy, the one who brought wealth from unseen lands. His old friends, David and Tony, were always with him. They celebrated his success, always pushing him further. David, excited, exclaimed, "Chuka, you are truly blessed. But this is just the beginning, my brother. You need to unlock your full potential." Tony then added, his voice grave and serious, "Yes, Chuka. You have the brain, you have the luck. But to sit on the throne of true wealth, the kind that lasts forever, you need stronger power. We know a native doctor in Benin. A truly powerful one. He can open all the doors for you." Chuka hesitated. He remembered the small ritual, the drop of blood. It had brought money, but it had also brought a constant unease in his heart. He felt like he was always looking over his shoulder, always afraid someone would find out his secret. But the idea of true wealth, of never having to worry about money again, was a powerful siren song. He looked at his mother, who now smiled more often, no longer coughing blood, and convinced himself that more money meant more safety, more happiness for them all. So, one morning, he left Enugu with David and Tony, driving all the way to Benin City. They found the native doctor's compound deep in a quiet part of town. The air here was different, heavy with the smell of herbs and burning wood, a place where the veil between worlds felt thin. The native doctor was an old man, with eyes that were like deep, dark wells. He didn't speak much, just stared at Chuka for a long time. Then, his voice, like rustling dry leaves, filled the silent hut. The native doctor's voice was low, slow, and chilling. "You seek the throne of riches, young one. You want power that touches the sky. Your hands have already tasted the small waters of wealth. But to drink from the great river, to sit on the throne, you must pay a higher price." Chuka felt a cold dread creep up his spine. He swallowed hard. Chuka's voice trembled slightly. What price, Baba?" The native doctor leaned closer, his eyes piercing. "You want the throne of riches? Then you must break the strongest bond, blood of womb. One must go, your mother or your sister." The words hit Chuka like a physical blow. His breath caught in his throat. His mother? Adamma? Sacrifice? He shook his head, unable to speak. The native doctor simply watched him, his face unmoving. The native doctor continued, his voice gaining power. "The bond of blood is strong. To rise truly, you must cut it. Choose. The one who brought you forth, or the one who shared your beginnings. One must pass to the spirit world, so your path to power is clear." Chuka stumbled backward, his mind reeling. This was not what he expected. Not this. This was evil. Pure evil. He wanted to scream, to run. But the native doctor raised a hand. The native doctor then spoke calmly. "You have 7 days, young one. 7 days to make your choice. If you refuse, the little wealth you have found will turn to dust, and the shadows that gave it will come for you." Chuka left Benin in a daze. The drive back to Enugu was a blur. His friends, David and Tony, tried to talk to him, telling him it was just a choice, that every great man makes sacrifices. But their words were distant, muffled by the roaring in Chuka's ears. Mother or sister? The words echoed in his mind, louder than any voice. He arrived home, but his home now felt like a cage. He looked at Mama Chuka, bustling about, preparing a meal, her face full of the joy his money had brought. He looked at Adamma, laughing as she read her school books, dreaming of being a nurse. How could he choose? How could he even think such a thing? His mind raced with memories. Flashbacks, quick and painful, like sharp cuts to his soul. He saw Mama Chuka, her young face full of love, nursing him as a baby, singing soft lullabies. He saw her, years later, shielding him with her own body during the market riots, shouting at soldiers to leave her child alone. He remembered nights when he was sick, Mama Chuka sitting by his mat, chanting prayers over him, her voice a comforting hum, keeping death away. He remembered her praying over him while he slept, her hands gently touching his head, asking God to protect her son. Every memory was a fresh wound. How could he betray this love? How could he destroy the one who had given him life, sacrificed her own life for his? Then he thought of Adamma, his little sister, just 14, with a future ahead of her. She looked up to him, her big brother. She had dreams, simple, pure dreams of healing people. To choose her, that was unthinkable. She was innocent, a child. He tried to run. He packed a small bag one night, planning to disappear, to leave the money and the native doctor and the terrible choice behind. He would go somewhere far away, start fresh, work hard, honestly. He crept out of the house, his heart pounding. But as he walked down the dark street, a cold, slimy coil wrapped around his ankle. He looked down and gasped. A large, black snake, its eyes glowing faintly in the dark, was tightening around his leg. He fell, terrified, trying to shake it off. The snake coiled up his body, its cold scales pressing against his chest, moving towards his neck. He felt its breath on his face, hot and dry. He remembered the native doctor's words, "If you refuse, the shadows that gave it will come for you." This was the native doctor's warning. The snake tightened, making it hard to breathe. He struggled, he fought, but the snake was strong. Just as his vision started to blur, the snake loosened its grip, slid down his body, and vanished into the darkness. Chuka lay there, gasping for air, trembling. There was no escape. The native doctor's reach was long. The remaining days were a torture. Chuka barely ate, barely slept. His eyes were red, his body shaking. Mama Chuka noticed. Mama Chuka noticed. Her voice full of concern, she asked, "My son, what troubles you? You look like you carry the weight of the world on your shoulders. Tell your mother." Chuka could not speak. He could not tell her. The terrible secret was choking him. On the 7th day, the day the native doctor had set, the air in their home felt heavy. Chuka moved like a ghost. His mind was a battleground, full of screams and whispers. He looked at his mother, her face lined with the years of sacrifice, her eyes still holding that deep, unwavering love for him. He looked at Adamma, who innocently asked him to help her with her homework. He made his choice. A choice that would haunt him, destroy him, for the rest of his life. A choice made in the darkness of his desperate heart, believing it was the only way to protect them, even if it meant destroying one. That evening, he prepared Mama Chuka's favorite meal, yam porridge, something he rarely did now that they had a cook. He put a special powder, given to him by David, into her portion. His hands shook so badly that some of the powder spilled. Chuka's voice was barely above a whisper, choked with tears. "I'm sorry, Mama. Forgive me. This is, for us. For our future." Mama Chuka ate the food, happy that her son was serving her. She smiled, her eyes full of warmth. But soon, her eyelids grew heavy. Her smile faded. She swayed. Mama Chuka's voice was weak, full of confusion and trust. "Chuka, my son, why?" Her eyes, those eyes that had always held such love and trust for him, looked at him one last time, filled with confusion and a deep, shattering question. Then, slowly, silently, she collapsed to the floor, her breathing fading, her body still. The house became silent. The music in Chuka's head screamed. He had made his choice. The blood of the womb. It was done. The days after were a blur of grief and deceit. Chuka wept, publicly, at his mother's funeral, feigning sorrow, inventing a sudden illness that had taken her. His face was a mask of grief, but inside, a cold, empty space had opened up. Just as the native doctor had promised, Chuka's wealth exploded overnight. Deals he touched turned to gold. Millions, then billions. He bought mansions, fleets of cars, and lived a life of unimaginable luxury. He became known across Nigeria, a titan of industry, a young man who had risen from nothing. But the wealth felt cold, heavy, like a shroud. At the funeral, amidst the mourners, Adamma, her eyes red and swollen, looked at Chuka. She knew. She didn't know how, but she felt it. She walked away from him, her small back stiff with a grief that was too old for her years. As she passed him, she whispered, her voice sharp like a broken shard of glass. Adamma whispered, her voice raw with pain and anger, I hope she haunts you till your last breath." Adamma moved in with an aunt, refusing any help from Chuka, refusing to speak to him. His wealth had bought him power, luxury, and the envy of many. But it had cost him his sister, his peace, and his very soul. His wealth turned into paranoia. He lived in a grand house, but he was always alone. He saw his mother everywhere. Her face appeared in mirrors, her eyes filled with that last, questioning look. He heard her soft voice, calling his name, in the rustle of leaves outside his window. Every night, his dreams were a torment. He saw her blood on his hands, felt her frail body collapsing, heard her last whispered, "Why?" He would wake up screaming, drenched in sweat, the grand bed feeling like a coffin. He tried everything. He gave huge sums to charity, built churches, funded schools. But no amount of good deeds could wash the blood from his conscience, or silence the ghost that lived in his mind. The wealth demanded blood, and it never forgot who fed it. One dark, stormy night, driven mad by the haunting, Chuka returned to the old, small compound where Mama Chuka had sold Akara. The little house was empty now, broken. He walked to the overgrown patch where they had buried her. The rain poured down, washing over him, but he didn't feel it. He fell to his knees by the makeshift grave, clutching the earth, screaming his mother's name, begging for forgiveness. He clutched the earth, his voice raw with madness and despair as he screamed, "Mama! Forgive me! Mama! I'm sorry! Please, forgive me!" As he screamed, a blinding flash of light filled the sky. A deafening crack of thunder ripped through the air. A massive bolt of lightning, bright as 1,000 suns, struck the ancient Irako tree near him. The tree exploded, splinters flying everywhere, a cloud of smoke and dust filling the air. When the dust settled, and the echoes of the thunder faded, the spot where Chuka had been screaming was empty. He was gone. Vanished, as if the earth itself had swallowed him, taking the cursed wealth and the broken promise with him. And that is why, my dear listeners, the elders say, when wealth demands blood, it never forgets who fed it. And when a son betrays the sacred bond, the spirits of the ancestors will ensure that he never knows peace. For what profit is it for a man to gain the whole world, and lose his own soul? This is a story that mothers will feel in their bones. A story that reminds us, true riches are not found in stolen gold, but in the honesty of your heart, and the blessings of your family. May we never sacrifice what truly matters for the false glitter of this world. We hope this story resonated deeply with you. If it did, please hit the like button, tell us what you learned in the comments, and join our growing family by subscribing to D's Afritales TV for more amazing African tales.